There we go. Create. Okay, I'm gonna wait on that. Thank you, Adobe Creative Cloud.
What do you guys prefer?
Off.
One vote for off,
I prefer off.
2 votes for off.
Off is great.
Off it is. So for today, what I'm going to do is go over just how to take your assets from Photoshop and turn them into assets that can be used on your HTML layout site, and then show you the basic way to bring in those assets into Muse and create your site structure. I'm not going to go too much into sort of classic web design because it's not a web design class, and I don't think it will be helpful too much. But you should know some basics just to have rattling in your brain about how HTML works and style sheets. But when a website is made, it's generally made with 2 different kinds of thinking. The first one is design thinking, which is what you did. And so you usually use a graphics editor like Photoshop to lay out what you want your website to look like. The next step then is to turn it into HTML. Do we know what HTML stands for?
No.
Hypertext Markup Language. So what it's doing, what it classically was made to do was take text and tell browsers how to format it. So if you want some words to be bold and some words to be italicized, and if you want to create links between objects, the HTML does that. In addition to HTML, we have CSS, which are cascading style sheets. You guys heard of this term before?
Yes.
So a style sheet is simply telling instructions to your HTML about how to style the areas. So if you have a particular font that you want to always use, for example, under my digital media design, I have a Helvetica font that's italicized. In CSS, I would say, all right, in this box, always create the text italicized at this height using this font. So then I can just plug in new text and it'll automatically look the way that I want it to look. So that's all the mumbo jumbo acronyms and words are meaning. It's just basically telling a site how to perform things so that as you're maintaining your site, you don't have to go in and build from scratch. All you're doing is you're swapping out an image. The image will still always go into the exact same place that it's supposed to go. Your menus will always be in the right place. If you add a new menu item, it'll just simply add to it. Now, we're not going to be working with any code today. We're going to be working purely in a graphic way. But it's important to know that what Muse is doing is it's creating the code. So the code does exist, and it still has to operate the way that any web page does. But this is a way to create that content graphically, which is easier for many of us who have a design background. Make sense so far? One of the things that we're going to do to prepare our assets is to prepare them to work with any kind of HTML preparer. And there's a certain syntax that has to be applied in order to have the web page successfully find the elements that you're putting into your folders. So for example, a web page usually has several folders with lots of different assets in it. You'll have a home folder, you'll have a portfolio folder, and in those folders you'll have text assets, you'll have image assets, and sometimes you'll have little snippets of code which tell basically your browser how to do certain things like animations and kind of fun, interesting things. How to make drop-down menus, how to change how when you hover your mouse over an object and it changes color or changes font. All those little things are little instructions, snippets of code that get added. So in order for your website to be able to find all of those things, it has to follow a kind of order. So when we're cutting up your Photoshop document, I'm going to ask you to use just some of these simple conventions, which are basically always using lowercase letters and avoid using no spaces, only hyphens or underscores. And that's basically all you need to know for what we're doing. Make sense so far? Any questions? Great. So to prepare, if you're working on your own computer, you want to create a place for your site to live. And if you're on an Apple, this folder is probably already there. If you're on Windows, you'll need to make it, or if you deleted it, you might need to make it again. But the best thing to do is to put it in a place as close to your home root directory as possible. So if you're on a Mac, just go to your home folder. It's the folder that has the house next to it. And you can get to it in a number of ways. If you open up your Finder, by just clicking on the Finder, your home page will usually be listed in the menu here. And then you're going to create a folder called Sites. If it's not there.
It's not.
You have a folder named Sites. How many of you have a folder named Sites? Right. If you don't, just create it.
I don't have my home folder.
Oh, sorry. So go to so you've just got the visibility turned off. So go to your settings here and show view options. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was the wrong place. Try this one. No, it should be in settings.
You can also go to Go and you tap on it.
Right, that's probably easier. Yeah, go home.
Go home.
Home.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Lloyd, on a PC?
If you're on a PC, just go to your C
Oh, wow.
drive, your C drive, and create a folder there.
Okay. That needs to go into the morgue.
Just create a new folder called Sites.
Okay. And the reason for doing it, I put it in different spots. I'll just do it here.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. The thing is, you want it to just be easy to find. Because what we're doing,
Sites.
generally when we're preparing a site for the web, is you have two folders. You have one on your home drive, and then you have one on the server that's actually hosting your website. So in a couple of weeks, we'll look at getting a subscription with a web hosting site in order to actually host your files. How many of you already have? All right, great, most of you. So we'll basically be using a tool to tell your server to look into your folder, your home folder, and it will automatically update. So it'll be, so basically when you make changes on your own computer and you log into your site, it'll automatically update. So if you have a news page and you want to update it with new information, all you're going to do is open up your Muse file and type in your new text, and boom, it's saved. You're good to go. You don't have to mess around with any other elements.
That's cool.
So that's all. So the reason why we're doing this is just to help prepare us for that step down the road. With your sites, you wanna, how many of you already have your domain names? Great, so if you wanna use that domain name for your portfolio site, label your folder the name without the extension. So like for example, I am at boydbranch.com, so my folder is just Boyd Branch as one word. If your site has 2 words in it, you can put an underscore between your first and last name. Mine's just all smushed together.
How are we putting this? Oh, images.
So all it is ignore this for right now.
Okay.
So just sites. This is the home directory folder name, and then you will be creating just one other folder called images.
Mine just goes straight to images.
No, you
Mine
have
just
to
goes-
create the one that you're create images.
So mine would be sites local disk 3 images.
Should be local disk 3 sites
sorry.
images.
Wait. So sites, local disk 3, sites, and so inside sites, I call this images?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
You'll also create a folder called assets.
New folder.
And what we're going to put in here is all in images are going to be all of your graphics that are going to go on. So your logo, your portfolio images, anything that's going to be graphically displayed on your website will go here. And in assets, you're going to put your text. So if you have your your descriptive paragraph about you as an artist, if you have a little news blurb about me, all of that text will be saved either as Word or text files and placed in your assets folder so that you can easily update the text. Everybody with me so far?
I think so.
There we go.
So you just have 3 folders. You have, or 4 including the sites. The sites, your home directory, mine's called Boyd Branch, and your assets and images. Muse actually takes care of a lot of this for us, but I want you to understand when Muse makes its folder structure, why it's doing that. And then in case you end up wanting to use Dreamweaver or another application, this file structure can be used for that. Alright, so let's jump into Photoshop. So with Photoshop, what we were essentially doing was designing how we want it to look. And it's a guide. Your actual site may look slightly different based on some decisions that you make. Because obviously your images will probably change over time and your text will change over time. So this is just a design structure. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each of these structural elements and we're going to save them as independent files that can be loaded onto your site. And you may have done this before with Jake. All we're essentially doing is copying each independent layer as its own thing and then saving it with a new name. So let's start with our background. So go ahead down to your folders and look for your background. My background right now consists of 2 elements. I have this image here, and I have this gradient that I've put on it. So in order to prepare it for the web, I need to combine these 2. How many of you have a background with 2 elements? Okay. So what you're going to
Oh, I
want
guess
to
I
do
do.
is, and actually I recommend saving this as a new comp, so in case you need to go back to your original you can, so we're only going to be working with, so if you make any changes here that you need to go back to, you'll have your other comp available. So select the two layers that are part of the background. Go to Layer, and you're going to merge layers. There's also a shortcut for this. If you're on an Apple, it's Command E, and if you're on Windows, it should be, is it Control or Alt? Is it Alt or is it?
Let's
Thank you.
Do you have any?
I
It's probably the Alt Option key. And click Merge Layers, and so you'll get one unified background. Oh wait, no, I did wrong. Combine the wrong layers. Right, so combine the correct layers. Layer, merge layers. And you should see that it's actually one layer.
Cool.
And I'm going to double click to rename this my background, so BG. So with your background layer highlighted in your layers panel here, so it's selected, if you're on an Apple, you press Command, and you're going to click on the icon. And you should notice that a bounding box comes around your object. If you're on a PC, then I believe it's either try Control or Option click. And whoever's on a PC, if you could let me know which one it is so I can consistently tell you. So if you Control click on the icon, does it select it? So you gotta do it with the icon, not the text. There you go. So what did you just click?
It's Control.
Right, so it is if you're on a Windows machine, it is Control and click, and that has now selected your object.
Okay.
Now, anyone notice anything funny about mine?
Yeah, it's a funny shape.
Yeah.
Funny shape. It's because my original image was larger than my canvas. So this could present problems because the website is not supposed to look like that. So what you do is you can press Command D to deselect, or you can select, if you're in your selection tool, you can just click off of, oh, I'm sorry, your marquee tool and select off of your image and it will deselect. And what you can do is, with the marquee tool, just select the area that you actually want. And you're going to press Command or Control C to copy. And then Command or Control N, letter N is in Nancy, and it's going to give you this option here to create a new document. Everybody have a new document up?
Command C, Command
Command
N.
C and then Command N.
So you're on Windows, right?
No, I'm using.
Oh, okay, so yeah, so it's Command N, or
Uh-huh.
Command C to copy your file,
Yeah.
and then Command N, as in Nancy, to create a new document.
Okay.
And label this document BG for background. Make sure the background contents are transparent. It doesn't matter on this one, but when we when we get some of our other elements, we'll want it to be transparent. Click OK or press Enter.
What size? Does it matter?
No. So let me do this again. So copy, new document, And the size you should look and it should be the size of your canvas, right? So mine's 1200 by 1017. So background. Should say here preset clipboard. Does anyone not have it automatically going to the clipboard?
Yeah, mine says custom.
Right. Okay, the clipboard.
Change it to clipboard.
I changed it to clipboard and it wouldn't let me.
Cool. Yeah, you can make a difference.
Well, as long as it's the right
Highlight
size,
the
that's all that
things.
matters.
It's not. I don't think it is.
Oh, I
That's
see.
letter that. So select your layer again. So control. Remember, you got to click on the icon, not the layer. So the icon itself. So now you see it's too big.
Yeah.
So go to your selection, the marquee tool, hold it down, get your rectangle, and no, just like that, you're fine. Click off of the canvas to deselect. Now drag the box. Great, like that. And Control C to copy. And then Control N. And so you're fine, so it is clipboard and it
Oh,
has,
now it's going. Okay. So, okay.
make sure you're on transparent. Click OK.
Mine's still interesting.
As long as it's the same, the size that it's supposed to be. Right, click cancel. And, right. Well, so you don't have layers now, you only have one document, so this isn't going to be
Oh, so
working
it's got
as well.
layers.
These need to be separate layers. So, what you can do, create a new layer and just fill it with something. So, go to your gradient tool here, hold it down, and just do paint bucket, and just fill it with something. Okay, drag it to the bottom. So now, press Command and click on the actual icon. See how it selected it? Now do Command C, copy, and Command N, create a new document. So name it background. Just BG, or I mean you can do the full thing as well. It's fine. Do the background transparent. Right. Cool. Is everyone with me?
Yes.
Boing. Alright, so click OK. Okay. And then Command V to paste. Or you can go to Edit Paste, but we're going to do several of these, so the shortcuts are going to come in handy as you try to work quickly. Everyone have it pasted into the new layer?
Yes.
So now we're going to go to File, Save for Web. Now there's a shortcut here, so that's Shift, Command, Option and S if you want, or you can just go to File, Save for Web. And if you have a transparency, if you have some elements that you want to be transparent, you're going to select PNG-24. But if it's just a solid image, go ahead and just keep it on JPEG.
I'm not sure
I'm not sure what that means.
if I want.
So, let me show you a transparent image. So, if do you have anything that you need to see behind your image, it's a transparency.
Oh.
If you don't need to see anything underneath it, it's just an image.
So like we had 2 layers, for example, that went into this image.
So, like how, do you remember in my original version I had my image and a gradient? So say I wanted that gradient to stay a gradient going from dark to 0 pixels, then I would save it as a PNG because then I can see objects underneath it.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Mine's solid, so I'm just going to be using a JPEG. But when we bring over your logo, we're going to be using a PNG so that it can layer on top of your background without any white around it. Now, for future reference, if you find that your website is loading too slow and it's due to your images being too big, or say you created something, a really big file that you need to reduce down, this is what the Save for Web does, is it allows you to resize it to the dimensions that you want. We created our website layout with the correct dimensions, so we don't have to change anything. But in case you have an element that you created independently, you want to save it for the web, and you can see right down here, with image size, you can adjust the size, and it defaults to being constrained. So if I change the width, then the height's going to automatically size accordingly. You can break that chain by clicking on it, and then that will actually squish or stretch pixels, which is generally something you don't want. This is just for your reference. All right. So depending on how important your image is, you can adjust the quality settings. Since this is just my background, it's not important that it be super sharp for me. Yours may be, and that's fine. But I'm just going to select high for the way that I want it to be compressed, which is going to make it a little bit easier to load. And how you can tell how fast it will load is down here in this little area. It tells you how long it would take for this page to load if you had a dial-up modem.
Mine says 236 seconds.
Kilobytes per second?
It just says 236 seconds, yeah.
So you can adjust it to what you want it to be. Most people are going to be navigating with, which one is it, Julie?
It's at 56.6. It just says it will take 236 seconds.
Okay, so you have a big image, a high resolution image, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So you may want to consider lowering it.
That's not giving me that option because I have the transparency.
Okay, yeah, so PNGs will always take longer. Transparencies will take longer. So don't worry about it now. If you find that it seems like it's sluggish, we can go in and we can save a smaller image. All right, click save, not done. Click save. And you're going to navigate to your sites, name of your site, images, and save it here. Now, I'm just replacing files since I already did this earlier. Yours shouldn't, you won't see this since you're doing this for the first time. Let's go ahead and replace it. And just to verify, you can go back to your Finder menu, look in your image, your images folder, and make sure that your background is there.
Cool.
Everyone save it successfully to the correct folder. So close out of that. Get rid of Dreamweaver. We're not working in Dreamweaver because we want to keep Lloyd's hair. Alright, so you can just close out of that now. It'll ask you if you want to save it. I wouldn't bother. it's you already have what you need, so you just click don't save. So we're back to our original composition. You can, with the marquee tool selected, select off of the image to deselect, or you can press Command or Control D to deselect. And now we're going to move on to your logo. So click the Move tool. And I like to keep on the auto select. Some people don't like it because it can get confusing how to move things around, but if you want to follow along, make sure the auto select box is checked. And I'm just going to click onto my logo, and you'll see here in your layers panel that your logo layer is highlighted. With me so far?
Mm-hmm. I have my logo inside a folder, a header folder.
Okay, then open up that folder.
Does it matter?
You just want to make sure, yeah. You just all you need to do is make sure you
Just
get
the
the
logo. Okay.
And actually, it should be in your. And it's good to keep it structured that way, so you're ahead of the game.
Mine is a vector smart object.
Okay, great. So, if you have a vector smart object, and I've got one in here somewhere, what you want to do is, here, let me look for. So this graphic is similar to a smart object. What you want to do is select that layer, go to Layer, and rasterize that layer. What this is doing is it's turning it into a single image instead of a smart object. And now it'll be easier to select. So I just changed this graphic from basically a vector shape into now what is considered what's called a raster shape, which is the painting of the pixels that we talked about before. So instead of a set of instructions that can scale to any size, it is a raster image that is stuck at that size, which is fine because because the web does not like vector graphics. So with that layer selected, same thing as before, Command click, and you'll notice that it highlights. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
No?
It's okay, don't worry about it.
No, so we're all gonna
I
get
don't
there.
even want this logo. It doesn't matter.
But it'll be good to show you how to do it. So same steps as with the background image, Control C to copy, or Command C, Command N for new layer, rename it logo. So we're doing the exact same thing we just did.
Mm-hmm. The size is pretty little because it's not the whole thing.
My size is the whole thing.
So Command C, Command N. So yours is not coming in at the right size?
Well, it's only the size of the logo itself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's supposed to be just the size of the logo.
Mine's huge.
Okay, so let's see.
And do you want this to be transparent? And there's the size. There's how long.
So just Control click on the box. Control C,
Let's see what it matches.
Control N.
Okay.
Oh, now it works. It's because you stand here.
Alright.
And then I look, and it's there. Cool.
So Then you're going to make sure it's transparent background. Name it to logo, click OK.
I can't get it selected.
Control V to paste. And then we're going to save for web again. And this time select PNG24.
And we want it transparent or PNG.
Here,
I
let me
just wish
jump
I had
on.
a header.
So what we want your logo. So you select. So this command, we're clicking on the icon, like not the whole layer, but on the icon. And select it. And then we'll see if we'll add our
Copy now.
logo. And then save for web. And then make sure it's PNG as it is. Sometimes you get it, yeah, so there's the rest up. Everyone successfully brought in your background and your logo. So, can I see your master page? Okay. So all you're going to be, all the shortcuts I'm showing them are for layers. So what you can do now, this is a little too generic. This is what you start with to see where you want to put your elements.
Yeah.
And you don't have your elements, so right now we're just, you're not going to probably use this, but to show you how to do it. Just take the marquee tool and select the part that you want. Control C and so now it's created a separate layer just for that.
Okay, so I put this one over here. Just
But get rid of, you don't even want, you have too much for this. So you just want to select the elements that you want.
okay.
So just description, just your menu, just your content, just your submenu.
And it was Control C, Control.
Command. So what you're going to be doing essentially is all of this for every element on your page. And it's the same process over and over. So let's close out of the new one. Don't worry about saving. So now you're going to want your menu bar. So you can either just roll down to your menu and just select your menu. Or if you have this auto select tool and the move tool selected, you can just click on the menu and well, because it's in a folder, it's only selecting everything in the folder, but go ahead and go down to your menu, Command D to deselect, and Command click. You have the highlight again, right? And we're going to repeat these steps until you have taken every part of your website and you have saved it as a separate file.
A question about my little nav bar titles.
Mhm.
Do I want to, I just flattened or merged those into one
Great.
layer. Is that a good idea?
Yep.
Okay, and then when I did my title, I wasn't sure if I should merge it with the bar behind it so that they're one piece.
Not with your title because this is a good question for everybody. So Megan has a good question. She has a particular type treatment for her logo, and she also has some text that's part of her menu, of course. So here we have my menu with this text. For for the menu, you're actually going to be using a menu widget. So it's going to be creating it on top of it. This will just be a visual guide. So it's not important that you actually bring in the separate home and about, portfolio, and contact text as an independent file. You can just copy the whole thing and bring it in. Now, for her logo, that's a particular font that's not going to be easily seen on most websites, so you're going to want to save it as an image. And so instead of saving it on a background, it'd be better to select it and save it as a PNG so that it has a transparency so you can put it on any background. Does that make sense? So you should just now go, and I want you to just on one page, select every aspect of it, and save it and name it. So you should end up with a logo, a background, a menu, a header, an image box, or a content box, so this box. You don't, if you have something like this, you don't necessarily need to worry about bringing in every little element. You can just copy this whole thing as one image because it's just going to be used as a reference. So for this one, I would just select the entire content. You will want to take your image though, if this is the size of the image that you want, and save it as a reference. But we'll be using your actual images to fill in for your portfolio later. This is just as a reference. Does that make sense? So go ahead and copy everything over. I'm going to float around and help individuals. So, here we go. Here's something in case you made a site like mine. You notice, if you remember, I have my header, which is independent, if you notice, of the little triangle there at the bottom. So I want that actually to be one object. So I'm going to highlight, I'm going to select my triangle here, as well as my header. And here's just a little trick. When you merge two objects, it defaults to name it the top object. So if I were to merge these two, if I were to select Shift and merge these two together, it would be called triangle. But I want it to actually be called header. So just drag a header on top, Shift, select both, and you can Control click to merge the layers, or if you want to go to the menu, all we're doing is we're going to Layers, Merge Layers. So now my header is actually the entire shape, including the triangle. And then I would select this, copy it, new document, header, paste, and you notice that it kept the little triangle. And now I can save for the web. I want it to be a PNG.
How do you paste again?
You can go to Edit and Paste, or you can, for the shortcut, it is Command V.
Gotcha.
Save, header. I already have one, so I'm just going to ask you to replace it. Raise your hand if you get stuck on an element, and I am happy to come help.
Can I sit next to somebody that knows this process? Because I'm
Yeah.
doing with two computers, it's not working, so I'm taking notes on everything.
Let me just help you with this one.
Okay. So I started
Good
to-
job.
Yeah, right?
Alright, so let's start with your background.
Okay. Yeah, I put some contrast in it too, so we just.
Oh,
Great,
my
let's
header
see.
bar is missing.
So press
Content.
Command and then click on the thumbnail icon right in there, not on the layer, but right there.
Oh, here?
Sorry.
Here, okay. Click,
And,
command and click.
and so it automatically will select that object. Now you can press Command C for copy, Command N for new, label it background,
Oh wait, no, that's not what I want.
change background contents from white to transparent.
Logo.
That's not really
Header,
actually
bar,
important for this
that's what
one,
I
but
need.
it'll default, so it'll be easier. You don't have to select it every time you're doing your transparent objects.
Okay.
Click OK. Command V to paste. And now save for web. So file, or use,
There's a basic shortcut.
yeah, it's Shift Command.
Shift Command S.
I think it's Control S.
Oh, okay.
Shift Command Control S. We could try Alt.
There we go.
Perfect.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That was it. I don't miss
Okay,
the-
let's
those
go
other ones.
five,
Just,
yeah.
save for web. Oh, it was up. That's what I was missing. It's Shift Command up S, which is
Ah.
annoying. So change it to JPEG. And it's just a background, so I would go down to just medium.
No, I'm not.
I just want to see.
I'm cheating.
And
24 seconds.
that's fine.
I just
So
want
click
to
save.
layout for funsies.
And then navigate to your.
Yeah, it has to be there.
Right.
I see
Now you can just create it
Thank you for
on
hosting.
a desktop, and then you can drag it over, and so you'll
Yeah.
have it.
Okay, so then done.
So you can just close that whole thing. And don't worry, it's gonna ask you to save it. Just don't. You can just say no. So now go to your logo.
Yeah,
So
same thing.
command click. Same thing.
Okay,
Command C.
yeah. Let me see.
Logo. Okay. Command V to paste. Here. So now you're just gonna do that for everything.
Sounds great. Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, so this, selected, copied, new.
Boop boop a doo.